Hey, welcome back to Comedy Trap House News, and we're gonna jump into it just like this.
I missed the mark.
Welcome back to Comedy Trap House News. We're gonna jump into our news just like this. Here's what's funny. That's exactly how we jumped into this episode, though. We said we were gonna jump in, and Manuel was like, shit. Yeah, so we're gonna jump in with Ginu-Why are you jumping at 50 years old across the stage? You were no longer built for it. Look at this. The only thing left on the stage is this man's foot. And I guess the thing is, all right, y'all know what I'm about to do. I don't really care. Enjoy yourselves. Okay, so Elgin Baylor Lumpkin got his lumps when he landed on the floor. When Ginu-Why took off from the stage and landed, he felt the differences in his knee. Because when he fell, he realized his whole life has changed. And all he was trying to do was go on stage and perform and be the best man that he could be. It's been 30 years since he hopped on that pony. Look at the difference. You can't do that no more, sir. Like, this is not where we are anymore. You are now, look, we've gone from The Senior, which is one of my favorite albums, to The Senior Citizen. I've fallen and I can't get up. And here's the crazy part. If you watch that video again, you see the ASL interpreter shrug him the fuck off. He was not going down with him. He could have easily been like, I got you, dog. He was like, there's no more room for me down off that stage. This is ridiculous. And it just shows you, light-skinned people, light-skinned energy just doesn't age the way you think it does. He finished the show. Everyone said it was a fantastic show. But I know one thing, he's feeling it today. He may be feeling it a little less than Glenn Kuiper, the Oakland A's announcer, 20 plus years on the job. And he got to go to a museum and he said this. Now, if you look at this, the wildest part is his co-host doesn't react at all. He says Nigger League Museum and his co-host is like, yup, we was there with them niggas. And so after he said this, I guess someone came back to him and they were like, oh dude, we in trouble. And he issued an apology immediately after, because it definitely was an oops by him. And this is what I wholeheartedly believe, people. I believe Glenn Kuiper went to the Negro League Baseball Museum, had himself such a fantastic time that he was like, I cannot wait to go on air to do this. And then he did that thing that you cannot do, is say, don't say something. So you could tell he was sitting off on stage. He was like, don't say nigga, 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 don't, sorry, club music. He said don't say nigga so many times in his head that the second he opened his mouth, nigga flew out immediately. And so the Oakland A's have now suspended him indefinitely. They haven't fired him. And I don't think he should lose his job. I think he speaks to a good portion of the United States. He said nigga, and some niggas answered. Like this nigga here, Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina. Now, this dude, play the clip, please. Just go ahead and play that clip.
Which clip?
Never mind. So there's a clip. There's a clip of him going through an entire reparations spiel, right? And in his reparations spiel, he basically says people have been asking for reparations, and instead, we as black people, oh, the great United States of America, reparations. And then he goes through multiple things. He goes, the reason why you owe is because you benefited from the lashings they took at slavery. You benefited from them dealing with the Jim Crow laws. You dealing with them, felt you should appreciate them dealing with all of this turmoil for you. And I was like, wait a minute. So are you arguing for reparations or not? Because you basically just listed every reason why reparations is an actual conversation. And you know the saying, not all skin folk is kinfolk. And at first, my first reaction was, if you don't get your Uncle Thomas cabin having ass out of here. There's a clip for that. Getting tricked by the white man's Jedi mind trick. Like, there's so many things that have happened here. And then it just made me realize that we in the United States of America, black folk in the United States of America, suffer from Stockholm Syndrome. And you go, what is Stockholm Syndrome, by the way? Stockholm Syndrome is basically when you get kidnapped or abused and you're a victim, after a while, you somehow start to empathize with your tormentor, your abuser, your kidnapper. You actually then start to align your goals with theirs. And at first I used to be really upset at black people doing this, and I just realized this is some real live Beauty and the Beast type shit. Because we saw the movie, he definitely kidnapped her, and then by the end, they were doing this, and then she turned him into a white man. And of course the white man was a kidnapper, because that's what they do. It's colonization, people. Pay attention to the message that Disney gives. Anyway, but we suffer from an advanced case of Stockholm Syndrome. So instead of being completely upset when we hear things like this, we have to kind of open ourselves up to understanding that people are lost. And then reparations has been a big topic of conversation recently, as San Francisco was out going, all right, we need to figure out how to handle this and how to pay our residents. And they were talking about upwards of sums of cash payouts of $5 million. And the NAACP came out with their statement, and they said, we don't want cash payout for reparations. We? You French niggas? Because we in French is yes, and yes means give us the money, because that's the only thing I could think of. That's the only we you can include me in, because why would you not take the cash payments? Now I get it. They're saying some people are going to blow their money and not do right by them. So I don't give a fuck about them. What I'm saying is, this is how finances work, right? Everyone doesn't do right by their money. And that's not what we're asking. Paying reparations is not going to fix all of the problems, right? There are some generational problems that have to be solved. But what it will do is it will allow those who are actually wise enough to do something with this money to have a basic generational impact and change on their community, their families, whatever. Some of y'all just gonna go to Bali for a couple weeks, Rome, camp. And some of y'all might blow it on a dice game. But the fact that we are talking about not declining cash payments is just another sign of this Stockholm Syndrome, another sign of we don't own this. Because you know what? I'm gonna hold on to my money like this. Speaking of chokeholds, we're gonna take a train up to New York City, where Jordan, let me get his name correct, where Jordan Neely, age 30, was strangled to death on a train. And there's a lot that goes into this story, right? Because what the argument is that Jordan Neely, homeless, was a threat to those on the train. Now, in New York, we know that they have him registered as a homeless man in dire needs, meaning he needed mental health counseling, he needed support, and we didn't have that support. So a handful of men decided that they were going to subdue him on the train in a chokehold, And now it's a debate, right? Were they good Samaritans helping this man, or were they just violent criminals? And I'm going to say it like this. It was both. I think this white dude, Marine Daniel, so this is a photo of Jordan. He was a street performer in New York, homeless street performer in New York. He just did his thing. You know, you make money how you can get in, you get by. But this man right here, Daniel Penny, 24, Marine, is the one who basically held on to Jordan until his life expired. Now, what would they call him? They'll call him an American hero. He was a Marine. He fought for this country. Amen. Thank you. Praise the Lord, and all the other stuff. And I think he may have started. I think he honestly may have started with good intentions. This guy's getting a little out of control. He's threatening passengers on the train. Let me hold him down. And then what happens is, in any of these situations, mob mentality takes over. So now you have this white guy choking him. You have a Spanish dude holding his arms down. And you have another person on the side. I don't know what he was doing, dabbing their forehead from sweat, giving them something to drink while they were killing somebody. I don't know. I don't know what he was doing, but I know it took a turn. There's a point where you know things take a turn. I've been there. You've been at the party where those people come in and you go, ooh, the energy of the party's changed. Or you've been in a situation, you go, ooh, this ain't the right thing, right? Or you stroking it and she start to dry up a little bit. That means it's a position she don't like. All I'm saying is you can tell when things are beginning to go the wrong way. And I think he just continued on with it. And I think part of the issue is we get caught up and the energy and excitement and everything like that, and everyone's yelling for justice on both sides, right? You have the people who are on Penny's side saying he was just being a good Samaritan and that's the right thing to do. I didn't see Jesus choke this nigga when he was on the side of the road, but you know, the good Samaritan story is different than apparently now than what I knew it to be. And then you have the other side saying that he purposely went out and killed a black man. And I think he killed someone. And I think he killed a black man. And I think the fact that you have people yelling for justice on both sides shows you just how lost we are. Because just because someone was acting a little off on a train doesn't mean his life deserved to be extinguished. Because if it was a dog, no one would have said a thing except for this dog, because this dog is the nigga of dog kingdoms. You know how they feel about pit bulls. And finishing with niggas and Stockholm syndrome, we're going to jump to Clarence Thomasing again. I'm sorry, I jumped stories, Manuel, so I got you over here looking lost with these photos. Ignore the photos, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to me, I got it. So Clarence Thomas has been not even accused, we'll say accused, for allegedly taking bribes and funds and things. But this is a little different than allegedly, because he's been doing it for 20 years. Clarence Thomas has been receiving funds, gifts, multiple lavish things from Mr. Crow, not Brandon Lee, although that movie, just watch the movie if you've never seen it, it's a classic. From Mr. Harlan-Crow, billionaire Harlan-Crow, who is a massive conservative, has been showering Mr. Clarence Thomas and his wife with gifts for over 2 decades, right? You gotta yell, oh my God, this is criminal. And it should be, but there are no code of conducts governing the Supreme Court. So basically, I wrote down some of the things that he did, because shit is crazy. He's included travel on his private plane and yacht. It's cool, standard shit. He bought him a $19,000 Bible that used to be Frederick Douglass's. You know that nigga's not opening the Bible. He ain't never read the Bible. He don't even know the first book in the Bible is named Genesis. Yeah, Genesis. I remember. And this is a repeated thing. So now we go back to, you can look at Harlan Crow's political philosophy, and then you can look at how Clarence Thomas has voted. And yes, they're both on the conservative side of things, so you can say, oh, well, they're just skewing conservative. Or you can say, nah, he's been purchasing and paid for a Supreme Court justice for 20 years. And I'm going to err on that side because, rest his soul, they also have indictment and plenty of evidence against Justice Scalia at the same time. And so we're looking at what should be the highest court in the nation, should be impartial, and all I do is interpret the laws of the Constitution and say if this is constitutional or it's not, being handpicked, bribed, and paid for. Okay, so we already saw that his wife, Jenny, was very, very impactful and involved in January 6th sedition, in which Enrique Tarrio was found guilty for sedition. Surprise. We have thousands of hours of video, but and it just goes back to what I said earlier. We in the United States as black people are dealing with an elite form of Stockholm syndrome. We've been here now so long that we are no longer paying attention to how we're actually being treated, right? We were kidnapped, brought here, yes. Enslaved, yes. Then a series of laws that were put into practice to make sure we don't do well, yes. And even today, the difference between the dollar at the end of slavery between black and white wealth and the dollar between black and white wealth today is the same. We're not getting treated better. We're being deceived that it's better. And we're suffering from this immense level of Stockholm syndrome. So instead of having people like Lieutenant Governor who's come to power, who understands where we stand, where the black population in the United States stands and can support and speak to that, or someone like Clarence Thomas, who's a bitch, who sits on the bench, Freudian slip, just like Geiger, who sits on the bench of the highest court in the world, is not doing anything for us. Kind of just feel bad for them niggas. Yeah. Stockholm Syndrome's a bitch. And that is our time here at Comedy Trap House News. Now that we're going live, we have questions in the back. If you have any questions, throw them in the feed. I will read them and get to them. What do we got? Oh. Well, that's great. Thank you, Antoinette. Sweet. Wait, you can't slide that stroke joke in? Yes, I can. I slid it in. Haha, I slid it in. I see what you did there, too. A messed up tale as old as time. Yep. I don't think we got any questions today. Any questions, any comments, anything you want to talk about? Who had pizza this weekend? Anything?
Quick question. Any thoughts on Usher versus
Chris Brown?
Chris Brown.
Well, apparently the story was Usher tried to save Chris Brown from himself because he was coming at Tiana dumb hard and she was ignoring him. And then when they got outside, apparently Usher left the area with a bloody nose. And Chris Brown is just, his light skin privilege has gone too far, okay? It's gone too far. Because women are going to support him and love him, and then they're like, look at the tattoos, and he a thug, he punched Usher. He punched Usher. This is like Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. No one's afraid of Usher, okay? My son would slap Usher, and Usher wouldn't do a goddamn thing, okay? So, I think one, they're supposed to be really good friends, and he didn't take care of his friend. And he basically punched his friend for actually trying to be a good friend. So I think it's fucking stupid on Chris Brown's part. But I've been over Chris Brown for a long time now. Thoughts on Cinco de Mayo celebrations by black people? Okay. Darren, here's my Cinco de Mayo breakdown. I think black people need to rejoice for Cinco de Mayo. I think it's the one thing that we aren't taught historically what actually happened. So we know it's the Battle of Puebla in Mexico, but we don't know is what the importance of it was. So during the Civil War time, the South reached out to France for help. France and Spain or whatever. And so what they wanted to do was they didn't want to come directly involved. So what they were doing is they were actually funneling their troops down and around the panhandle to come up to support the South. So they were going to come in through Mexico. Okay, so Mexico was like, fuck y'all, because there was a whole contingency on Mexico owed France money or whatever else, and they were literally just using that excuse to occupy Mexico to support Southern troops, right? So had the Battle of Pueblo went another way, we would have legitimately had French troops supporting the southern states during that time. You have to remember, in England, in the UK, in all European countries, the cotton and the sugar that they got from slave labor was amazing for them. It helped their economy even as much as it helped ours. So had the Mexicans lost the Battle of Pueblo, France and Spain would have had a foothold underneath the United States of America, which would have been Mexico, to support Southern troops and Southern campaigns, and it would have helped push the North out. And we'd be dealing with the consequences of that way harder than it is. We aren't really taught the significance of Cinco de Mayo, but as a black man, I celebrate Cinco de Mayo with a dashiki on and a sombrero. Yeah. Any other questions, concerns, comments? What movie reviews do you have? Movie reviews? I don't have any movie reviews right now. What was the last movie I saw?
Ant-Man?
Yeah. That was the last movie I saw. Ant-Man. It was cool. What else?
Keep bringing up this Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, Cam told me to watch it yesterday. I haven't seen it yet. Bo something.
Afraid.
Bo was afraid. Bo's too afraid. Something like that. Cam told me to see that. And then I saw John Wick 4, which I thought was everything John Wick 4 was supposed to be. 300 words of dialogue from Keanu Reeves, but 400 bodies. That's about right. Coolest nerds you ever met. When is the return? Oh, so the Coolest Nerds You Ever Met podcast is on a temporary hiatus because Raph at this moment is in EMT school, and it's been between working full time and then going to school full time, whipping his ass. So once things settle down for him and he gets back into his groove, we'll bring the nerds back. Absolutely. But I think that's it. It's been quiet today.
Nice.
Anything else? Any comments, concerns, or whatever? Comment on the video, chat. Oh, wait. So I purposely didn't touch on Texas today, like, because we had the mall shooting, and I was like, I'm sick of talking about guns or whatever. I think this is dumb, right? I think raising the age from 18 to 21 is dumb, because you're basically saying, oh, by 21, whoever the fucking killer is will be more grounded. That's not normally how it works. What actually needs to happen in Texas is a complete overhaul of the system, right? Like in Texas, they'll tell you, well, the reason why you don't get mass shootings in Texas is because everyone has a gun. Well, that doesn't explain what the fuck happened at the mall today. Everyone doesn't have a gun. Not today, the other day. Everyone doesn't have a gun. And there's legitimately no reason to have an AR. Listen, I'll go to a gun range. I let off an M14 before. Oh, the power that comes from that joint is amazing. I had an erection for 2.5 days straight after holding all that. And I think that's all it is. I just think men want something powerful in their arms because they don't have it anywhere else. That was a penis joke. I think we have a massive problem in general when it comes to guns here in the United States, right? Like you go, like there was that massive shooting overseas. I want to say Iran, but I feel like I'm lying. But it was somewhere in the Middle East. And you know what they said? They was like, man, that's the biggest shooting that we've had in 30 years. And I was like, that's amazing, because the biggest shooting we had was yesterday. And then the biggest shooting that will be tomorrow. And then that will be the biggest shooting since 3 days after that or before that. And we have a problem. We have a systemic problem. But as we all well know, the U.S. is terrible at fixing its systemic problems. Racism. I think the problem is the gun zone is, I think the overall problem with this gun conversation, right, is if I raised you to feel a certain way about something, it's very hard to get you to feel something else about it, right? So when you're down south, you go visit your family down south, the first thing they're going to do is take you hunting, put a gun in your hand at the age of 5, right? So, and before that, from ages 2 to 4, you want to go hunting. Oh, I want to go hunting. You're not old enough to go hunting. All right, then you finally get old enough to go hunting. You want this rifle, and you're like, there's nothing wrong with a rifle. I'm just going hunting. And then you build this relationship with hunting and guns, and you think it's fine, right? But this is what it's comparable to, especially here in the United States. During holidays, we have a big dinner, right? And every Sunday, we have a big dinner. And so as a kid, you get used to having these very large dinners and meals, right? And then they become associated to emotional rewards for you, right? So whenever you eat a big meal around your family, your brain releases dopamine, and then you get basically a high from that. When you pull your gun out and shoot, you get a high from that. But we have now in the United States of America an obesity problem with how we treat food. And on that same side, we have a gun problem with how we treat guns. Emotionally, we've tied ourselves to things that are legitimately killing us. And that's it. Marvin's done preaching. If you like the show, please like, subscribe, ring the notification, share with your friends, post on other social media platforms, grow the show. Please, we doing it over here, but we need your help on the other side. So please, again, like, subscribe, click the notification button. We're doing this weekly. There's a super chat in there, so if you have a question and I can't see it, but you super chat it, it puts it up there highlighted, I can't miss it. So you also support the show. We just give and take. It's a thin line between. That was big. I didn't expect that. I understand why they act like they don't know what the countries and state withdrew funding for mental health. So, and that's the other issue, right? But the show's over, but I have to touch this because it's important. So mental health is kind of one of the things in the United States of America that we've turned our backs on. And in turning our backs on mental health, we've seen the shootings, we've seen the rise in homelessness, and we've seen the rise in drug usage. Right? Mental health is important. People need the help. And until we get back into legitimately supporting people like at where they are, then all of these problems continue to exacerbate themselves also. But it's not just a one-sided thing. Mental health is only one piece of the Venn diagram. We got an 18-piece Venn diagram that are overlapping into the fucking problems we have here. I'm not going to get back on my high horse because I could do this for another 5 minutes. But if you have any topics that you want us... Nah, Big Sis Chris, we good. If you have any topics you want us to talk about, please email us. Or comment on the photos or the videos. I look at them all the time.
Hit your IG.
Hit me on IG at Marvin Telp. Or hit us on IG at comedytraphouse. Like, there are many ways for you to get to us. If there's something that you really want us to talk about or is on your mind or your heart or whatever, please use us. We enjoy doing this. Again, like, subscribe, comment, and share. All right, we'll see you next week. Peace.